If you could see the inside of your engine running on Shell Helix Ultra, you'd see how active cleansing technology really works. Continuously cleaning and protecting your engine. Shell Helix Ultra with active cleansing technology. Performance you can see.
What we did in the past was to establish a cleansing platform as the main strategy and the main drive for Helix positioning. We are moving from the cut car campaign and showing even better how the oil works inside the engine. When we start to brief the agency, we were saying that we should show that we can clean as nobody else.
We thought if you could see the oil inside your engine, what would it look like if it was using Shell Helix Ultra? And we thought about X-rays, but felt there might be a better way to do it in a way that didn't involve CGI or some kind of post-computer enhancement.
We always get very strange requests coming in. This was one, can we make a Perspex car? Of course, we can do anything, given the time and the budget. I mean, there's over 2,000 parts to a car, so it's not a giant airfix kit, it's a bit more involved than that. I mean, we've had to totally dismantle and strip down a car and copy every part and make sure it all fits. Even then, you've still got to hand make everything to make sure it all goes back in the same place.
For this commercial, we've gone to Rattling Stick. They've got some fantastic directors, and Ivan Bird is one of those. The others tended to get a little bit absorbed in the idea that we were going to make and photograph a glass car, and that was the story. Ivan got excited about the fact that that was only the start of the story, and the real story was putting oil into the engine and making the oil in the engine experience not the product bit that you have to fit in, but to actually be the central spine of the story.
The engine is twice the size of the real engine. Did it by basically stripping down the real engine, measuring all the component parts for the twice-up engine, so basically just the moving internals, and then recreating them in Perspex using a variety of machines which pattern cut all the parts, and then they were all bonded together with a special UV glue. Because it's all Perspex running on Perspex, it has to be reasonably precise, but just with enough play so it doesn't all seize up.
Most people think the oil just sits in the bottom sump and then just splashes around an engine, but what you'll see is you'll see the oil move through the very fine oil ways into the bearings, and it's these oil ways that we believe are critical to keep them clean, to allow the oil to flow to the contacts in the engine, to keep the engine performing how the engine designer intended it to. In the old days, when I was a youngster, engines were great big blocks of steel. Today, they're very, very small units, all aluminium, very light, producing 4 or 5 times the horsepower that those old engines produced. This type of engine today produces the same amount of power as a 40-ton lorry did when I was a young lad. So you can imagine how hard the oil has to work to keep these engines performing how the engine designer intended it to. You'll see the cooling valves, the jets that spray oil up underneath the piston to keep the piston cool. Very little metal between the combustion chamber where the temperature is 1600 degrees C and actually the oil underneath it. And the oil there is to take that heat away, take it out and it goes through an oil cooler and then recirculate it through to make sure that these pistons don't buckle and make the engine fail. And so it gives us the opportunity now to try and educate people of the real importance of engine cleanliness in terms of how the oil works, takes those particles away, stops them forming on the walls, and then takes them harmlessly away at the next oil change. If you look at an engine oil, the formulation is made up of 3 major components. One is what's called a base stock, and that comes in various types from mineral oils through to synthetics. And then you have an additive package, depending on the performance level required, is what they call heavier, so there's more additives in a higher performance oil than there is in a low performance oil. And then on top of that is what's called a VI improver, and that gives you the viscosity, so it keeps your viscosity constant, and those 3 things make a formulation. Now, it depends on the art of the formulator, the same way as it depends on the art of the chef, what the oil tastes like to the engine. Like great chefs make a nice meal for people who appreciate it, well, a great formulator makes a great engine oil the engine will appreciate. In Helix, we work closely producing our own base stocks, and we make our own formulations rather than just buy them in. It allows our own chefs, if you like, to be able to make the oil that we require to do the job that we want it to do. We visit the car manufacturers on a regular basis to see where they're going in the future. Researchers go and talk to the engine designers, engine builders, to find out where their problems are and what we might be able to do to help them. Because it's not about what they're doing today. For us in research, it's about what they're doing tomorrow. The customer, at the end of the day, wants the joy of driving the vehicle. And that's what we're all here for, is to try and make sure that they get the maximum amount of enjoyment out of their engine for as long as possible. And that's why we take great pride in developing the Helix formulations we do.